Hello and welcome to Season 2 of Teacher Talk, the podcast for teachers who are lifers but still want to have a life. I'm Jared, and as always, I'm joined by my partner, Johanna. Hey, Johanna.
Hi, Jared.
What are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about if you're wanting to become a teacher, what are some things you can do now, probably while you're in school, to prepare you for when you get that first teaching job.
So college education majors?
Yes.
All right. So you want to be a teacher?
So you want to be a teacher.
And your advice is don't.
Oh, no. I would totally go into teaching. Absolutely. 100%.
Well, there's a good start.
I mean, at this point, we've gotten emails from people who are not currently teachers, but who want to be teachers. And so they didn't have any questions. They just wanted us to know that they were listening. And so after a couple of months,
which is the exact opposite of what you thought the podcast would be for.
I didn't think that. And then after a couple of months, I'm like, wow, we should probably really do some episodes for these people who have been kind enough to send us emails to let us know that they aren't currently a teacher, but that they have been listening. So this is for them.
Because your original vision was what?
Current teachers who,
like third-year teachers.
Any year teacher. It's just, you get to that point where it's like, can't do this anymore. How do I do this job and still have a life and kids and a family and not like sacrifice my life for this career?
Teachers that were thinking about quitting.
I suppose. I think that's every teacher. Every teacher has had those moments where they're like, I can't do this anymore.
But to set people on a path where it was something they could continue to do forever.
Right.
Because it's not as hard as it could be.
Well, because at a certain point when you're learning to teach, like the first year's rough, but you're like, oh, that's fine. It was my first year. And then the second year was rough. And then the third year, you're like, gosh, that was rough too. But you get better. And then you slowly learn like, oh, I could be a good teacher, but I need to work 80 hours a week to be that good teacher. And I don't want to work 80 hours a week. Yeah. I'm not paid to work 80 hours a week. Yeah, that was the original intent. But it turns out, and we still, I would say those are the like bulk of the questions that we get. But we do have this subset.
So what's your message for the would-be teachers?
The would-be teachers. We're going to talk about...
Will be, I guess. I don't know.
They will be. They will be teachers.
Yep.
Yeah.
The will-be's.
So we're going to talk about...
traveling will-be's.
Oh, this is where it starts.
Okay.
The problem is that every once in a while we get emails where you have delighted someone with your random stuff.
Really, I'm the star of the podcast.
Probably. That's not that far from the truth. Anyway.
What's your advice for the will-be's?
Okay, so first thing is that go ahead and get yourself a job in a school.
Get job.
Yeah.
Well, that's check. What do you mean by that?
Well, I never considered this when I was a student. And now that I've seen so many people do this.
Not as a teacher.
Yeah, no, you're a student.
You're still in college.
You're still in college.
Go get a non-teaching position.
Yes.
In the school.
Get in the school. Which I used to do, like back in the day when I was learning to be a teacher, like there was a lot of expectations attached to our like curriculum that had us in the school, but you can go be a janitor now. You can be a para or associate now. There's a chance, depending on your state, that you could be subbing now. Get on the grounds crew. Be the crossing guard. Get yourself attached to a school. Make a little bit of money, and then be shocked at how willing a school will be to be flexible with your schedule, because you're who they want to hire.
As a janitor?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there are all sorts of part-time positions, or there's only 3 hours a day positions, and get yourself in there, apply, interview, and then the worst case scenario is schedules don't align, but they'll keep you in mind for future things. If you can get yourself in a school, you're going to learn so much while getting paid, and it will make you a better teacher.
When this isn't just like resume building, right? You're not just trying to get your foot in the door.
No, however, that doesn't hurt.
So what's the value to you of doing it?
You're going to see good teaching and bad teaching. You're going to learn how to interact with kids in a genuine way. You want to practice that. And I mean, like, they are always looking for people to help serve lunch or to help serve breakfast. I'm just telling you, there are all sorts of jobs that actually will fit in really well with also going to school.
Okay.
Yeah. Get in there and apply. I mean, worst case scenario is you apply, you get an interview, you get the job, and then schedules just don't align. Or you get the job and then you can only have it for a semester because then your schedule doesn't align. Like, the school district will be forgiving of that, and they would rather have someone in that position who was, I mean, they want to build those connections just as much as you do.
So how is this not just starting my burnout sooner?
Because
why is it actually helpful?
Well, one, you learn how to interact with kids.
Starting my burnout sooner, yeah.
No, because it's not the same. Being an associate or being a custodian or being on the grounds crew or a crossing guard, or none of those are the same. These are the hours I work, and that's it. There's no grading expectation. There's no contacting parents and interacting with parents expectation.
The student behavior isn't fundamentally your responsibility. So it's sort of like a dress rehearsal. Yes. Yeah. Like, even if you're an associate who's probably working with just one student. And, like, that isn't bad It's real practice, but if it goes wrong, it's not really your problem.
Right. And there's no contract involved. I mean, if you get yourself into a school and you're like, whoa, howdy, this is not for me. Now you know what a school that isn't for you looks and feels and sounds like. And B, then you just give your 2-week notice and then out you go. I mean, it's so different than if you had been waiting tables and then realized that you didn't like that job. Yeah. I mean, that actually makes a lot of sense. It's where it's at. I bet most people don't do this, but why? Most people don't. However, I ran into some kids that were like, I call them kids, but they were 19, 20, and I was like, oh, tell me about yourself. And they're like, oh, I'm going to school to be a teacher. And sometimes they go in and out. Sometimes one semester their schedule works. Sometimes the next semester it doesn't. And I'm like, you're a genius. If you like the school and if the school likes you, then talk about setting yourself up for the future. Like, at least you'll get an interview. Yeah, in addition to the foot in the... But that's not even your primary purpose. The foot in the door is gravy. Yes. That's just gravy. This is just... And, I mean, quite honestly... It probably beats waiting tables. It will also tell you if you really want to teach. Yeah. I mean, if you get into it and you don't have kids that you just love to pieces, well, it's probably not for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to have this want and this interest. And it could be that what you discover is that elementary's not for you, or high school's not for you, or middle school's not for you. Middle school will shock people. They think, oh, no, never a middle school, because they only remember their own experience. And then middle school is my personal favorite. But, yeah, I mean, if teaching is your second degree... Everyone hates middle school as a kid? Is that what you're saying? People will speak fondly of high school. They'll speak fondly of elementary. And then whenever you tell someone you're a middle school teacher, they go like, ugh. Why are you doing that? Like, they don't connect.
I guess I get that.
But yeah, I mean, why not discover now that you thought you wanted to be a high school social studies teacher, and then in actuality, as you spend time in a school, you realize like, wow, I actually enjoy younger elementary students, or I never thought about being the music teacher or the PE teacher, or, you know, it will let you see, or like speech pathology, like there's all sorts of roles in the school that people are, all they know about
the professional side of it.
Yes.
Not just your memories as a student.
Right. The better.
Got it.
Yes.
All right. Is that all I need to know?
No. Okay, there's more.
It feels like that's enough.
That's a lot. I mean, really.
Like that's a really good start.
Yes, and they're always looking for people. Like, you might say, like, oh, it's not I'm telling you right now, if you start looking, I bet in a 20-mile radius of where you are, there are associate jobs all over that are posted and haven't been filled, so they're reposting them. And then you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, oh, I don't know if I can do 5 hours a day, or I don't know if I can do 4 hours a day. Like,
just talk to them.
Just talk to them.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So, the other thing I would recommend is go ahead and start making generic plans.
Like lesson plans?
No, stay out of that. Stay out of that. There's things every classroom needs that you're just going to need.
What's a generic plan?
A generic behavior management plan.
Oh, okay.
Like, you're going to get into a school and they're going to, hopefully the school already has like some sort of like, oh, we're a PBIS school, or oh, we're a Leader in Me school, or oh, we're a school for rigor. Or they're gonna have their thing, their big umbrella.
That's what you mean by generic.
So you want to keep it generic because you want to be able to adapt it for whatever the school expects, or your PLC expects, or the culture expects. But on the other hand, you need to have kind of a plan in place of like, what is a reminder going to look like? How am I going to communicate that to kids? What is taking a break in my classroom going to look like? What is contacting parents going to look like? There are things.
Why don't the schools do that for you?
Who would do that?
I don't know. Create the generic plan.
Well, they have a generic, like a lot of schools will have a plan of like, we're safe, respectful, and responsible. And here's what it looks like to be safe, respectful, and responsible in the classroom. See, the problem is they only focus on, let's just teach everything we want. And that is very well scripted out. But how do we respond if they don't do those things? Like, they might have a plan in place for like, well, the student never does those things. And so, like, how they might have, like, they call it an RTI process. They might have an RTI process. But you need your, What's
RTI?
There's different plans, or MTSS, where it's like the student isn't meeting the expectation consistently, and now a team of people is coming together to create a formalized plan of what to do when a student isn't meeting the expectations.
Real-time intervention? What's it mean?
Response to intervention.
Sure.
I believe.
Okay.
I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's response to intervention.
Well, I stopped listening.
And then multi-tiered levels, systems of support. MTSS. We like to use these abbreviations, and then we use them so much I forget what the real.
Well, that's everywhere.
Oh, okay. But you need your generic, like, in my classroom, kids are going to be kids. How am I going to respond? You might as well start.
This will help how?
Because then you'll have something to edit.
Well, when you start?
Yes. You're going to get that first teaching job, and you might have all summer to plan, or you might have like 3 days to plan. And so it's not going to hurt you.
This will help you from feeling overwhelmed when you
you're going to need
first
this.
Job.
You're going to need this. I recommend also to read The First Days of School by Harry and Rosemary Wong.
Should probably use your podcast editing ability to put that in the the
Oh,
show notes.
please.
Maybe even do an
I'm
Amazon,
not-
like we could get paid maybe.
No. Psst.
We don't know how to do that.
But that book I read many, many moons ago before I started teaching, and that was a huge help to me.
The first days of school.
The first days of school. Now, again, you could go into like a Leader in Me school, and they're going to tell you, like,
And it's not like a pun, like school days, like dazed and
No.
confused. It's just days.
it's like how to.
I'm gonna write my book, The First Days of School.
It's all this nuts and bolts logistics. And
Good.
it's all stuff that you can start working on now, because now you have all the time in the world. And like once you read the book, you might have an assignment in your class that gets close, but now you'll structure it in a way that's going to be successful.
Useful to you when you actually do start teaching.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
What else I need to do?
Okay. The next thing is you're going to need some sort of generic about me, I'm your teacher, like paragraph.
Like your teacher statement, your artist statement for teaching.
It's like, this is the thing that goes on the website. This is the thing that goes in your letter home to parents those first couple of days. It's very lighthearted, but they want to be able to connect to you as a person.
Your blurb.
Your blurb. A lot of times in schools, they don't want the blurb to be too personal, but yet everything the parents and the students want is to connect to you on a personal level.
So don't listen to the school.
Find things that you are 100% comfortable with everyone knowing, like the sports team that you enjoy or what you like to do outside of school. That kind of blurb.
Yeah, but what if I like the Patriots and I don't want people to think I'm awful?
I have no idea about the Patriots.
Oh, okay. Send your letters
Where are the Patriots from? Which state did we just offend?
they're the New England Patriots, or Boston, basically.
Boston.
Although I probably have offended the rest of New England by saying that.
We have quite a few listeners up there.
They know they're awful.
You can spread it
They're
out.
comfortable with it at this point.
Okay.
They're
This
not
makes
going to
me
have their feelings hurt.
Okay. Fine. I don't even know what sport do the Patriots play.
It's football.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it. All right.
Remember
So
we were watching the Super Bowl and the Seahawks had the interception at the very end on the goal line because they threw the ball instead of running it.
Did I watch the Super
Yeah,
Bowl?
the kids watched it with us even.
Oh, okay. I don't think I was watching it. I think you and the kids were watching it.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you were there. But
Oh, okay.
the kids were sad because for some reason they like the Seahawks, which is almost as awful as liking the Patriots.
Well, they do have Seahawks gear.
Yeah, well, because they know people that live in that awful place.
Oh,
Seattle.
so now we're also insulting people from Washington. Good.
Well, they're just awful people who like a football team, which also is awful.
I love Seattle. Seattle's one of my favorite places.
I'm sure I've never been there.
I know. You would love it. The problem with taking you to Seattle would be that you would want to move.
Well, then,
Yeah.
Well, because I'm also awful. Hey,
Send your letters to Teacher Talk for Teachers. I make sure Jared gets exposed to all of his hate mail,
Yeah.
which has yet to come in. I can't believe that you haven't angered enough
don't
people yet.
challenge them.
All right, so
If they knew what team I like, they'd understand that I'm just bitter and unhappy.
he likes the Bears.
Yeah. Hey,
Okay, you need a generic welcome letter for parents.
yes,
Yep.
that's not the about me.
No.
Why are the okay? I get why the first one was generic. Why are the second two generic? Because the first one's generic because it doesn't fit the name brand behavior plan specifics of that school.
All of this won't fit the name brand specifics of that school.
Yeah, but they don't. There's no name brand about me statement.
There is.
Oh, there is.
Depends on your school.
All right, fine. To parents,
And
do you have thoughts on do I need to know It sounds basically the same as the About Me statement.
It's very similar, but parents want a little bit more information as far as your credentials.
But the same basic principle is this. It's comparable to having your resume ready.
Yeah.
Before you actually need it.
Yeah.
Because it makes everything easier.
It just makes it easier. It makes it easier. There's a chance you'll never use it. But a lot of places, secondary level, they're going to expect you to do a syllabus. Elementary level, they're going to expect you to have some sort of letter to parents that you hand out as far as like what to do if their kid, if they, like, what's your best preference for communication? And how are you going to handle behavior? And what makes you special? Why should they be glad that their kid is in your class? So all of those things, and it's just having something to edit is going to be so much easier than having to start from scratch. So go ahead and start now. It'll probably work into one of the assignments. Hopefully.
Any more generic things like that?
Yes. You're going to need generic classroom tools.
What's that mean?
You're going to need generic hall passes, bathroom passes, system for creating and taking attendance. You might as well start that Pinterest search now and make those resources now, because now is when you have the time.
Okay.
And if you're working in a school, you will see all of the random things that teachers have in their classrooms that you're just going to need.
I still don't know why the building doesn't do something like that for you.
Who would do it? I don't know. And teachers, it's the one-room schoolhouse philosophy.
Not the people that you hired to run a classroom and teach children a thing. I mean, what if you hired one person and paid them much less, and their job was to take care of this logistical stuff so that the teachers didn't have to?
I actually think that this is a brilliant idea, what you are describing. And if this is done anywhere in the country, like, please email me and let me know. But I have never heard of that ever.
It seems like a waste of resources, unless the teachers are just going to do their own thing anyway.
Maybe that's why. The one-room schoolhouse philosophy is still really embedded in a lot of the choices that we make. Like I've
learned that over the course of this podcast. Although I haven't thought of it like that.
In many ways, a school is more like a small town business area. Do you know what I mean? Like if you go to like a stereotypical Main Street, all of the small businesses might work together and have certain things in common to help attract business to the area. But yet each business is run in isolation and removed from everyone else.
You're right. It is like a one-room schoolhouse.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
But, okay.
So we can talk a lot about how to do, about ways and like try and learn success from each other. But basically what happens in my room is my room's and I could get assigned to do something. Like I could get assigned to have a purpose statement displayed every single day. But I'm responsible for making that purpose statement. Or I could get assigned that my rules have to be posted, but I'm responsible for posting those rules.
What if the whole district had like certain learnings that they thought were essential?
Yeah, like that's all curriculum. Like that component is more common.
They had big posters for them.
But not like the logistics of like, well, how do kids like ask to go to the restroom, or how do you take attendance, or all of those things? No.
Got it.
Okay. So
what's left in the toolkit for things you don't want to have to do between the time you get hired and the time you actually start?
The best one, which is start envisioning how you want to structure your classroom space.
Oh, so like sim classroom?
Kind of, yeah.
Why?
Because it's fun, and it's probably what you'll spend the most time stressing over. So go ahead and start thinking about it. Like, for example, in my classroom...
Like where the teacher desk goes?
yes. How do you want your students working in groups?
There's a joke, though.
I know, it's a joke. You're referencing. That's a pretty popular episode, by the way, which is crazy to me.
Would you say what it's about, though? Because in case someone hasn't heard
it. Getting rid of your teacher desk.
So there shouldn't be a teacher desk. That's what I'm envisioning.
Yes. But where the teacher is located in the classroom. Do students work in isolation? Do they work in rows? I mean, you can generally assume that you're going to get some sort of square. It's bonus points if you get some sort of rectangle, but you can think through that too. And
well, a square is a rectangle too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
How is that?
It's a special type of rectangle.
Oh, it still qualifies. They're not okay because they're two parallel lines that attach.
Squares are a subset of rectangles.
Okay.
If you take a rectangle and just get lucky with how long the sides are, it's a square.
Got it. Anyway, just go ahead and assume that. Go ahead and assume that. I mean, you can make assumptions about what kind of furniture you're going to have available.
A lot of my classrooms when I was in elementary school were like wedge shaped.
You went to a weird school.
Oh, they had like little circles in the corners of the building, and each classroom was a wedge.
But you can plan for that too. Like if you know in your area that you could be left with a pod shaped like a pie piece classroom, go ahead and start playing with it. What's in the walls of your classroom? Start thinking through that. You might as well start making those things. Like I have a teacher's promise that's on the wall of my classroom. No matter what grade I teach, that goes up on the wall. So you might as well start envisioning that stuff and start making that stuff. Because you'll need it. Or worst case scenario, you make it and don't use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No. I think that covers it.
And I know I've asked about it some, but just recap. Well, not recap. I'll do the recap.
Okay.
But just bring together all of this generic stuff and sell me on the reason for it again.
Because it's too stressful once you get the job to get it all done. And it feels overwhelming to get it all done. But editing, like when I've taken new jobs and all I had to do was edit, like maybe I had a resource that was more designed for one age group and I had to either elevate it or I had to bring it down. That was so much easier and less stressful than starting and staring at a blank piece of paper.
So this helps you just start on the right foot.
Yeah, because what's going to happen is you're going to get your job. And then let's pretend you get your job and you have 3 months before your job starts. They're not going to give you any information until like your job actually starts. And then the first day where your job actually starts, they are going to like a snowstorm of stuff you have to do is all of a sudden going to be on your plate.
And you're going to feel overwhelmed even when you do all of the stuff you just said.
Yeah.
So why not make it less bad?
But when they say to you, you got to get your website put up, you got to get your letter done, you got to get this done, you got to get this done. At least in your head, you can say like, well, I got that started. Or like, I got to prepare my classroom. Like sometimes they'll let you go in all summer and sometimes they won't let you go in until the official first day on your contract. And like, I mean, it needs to be like the TV shows where they go in and they do home improvement and it's like done in a weekend. Like they did a bunch of prep work to make that stuff happen. You should do that prep work.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right, recap.
Recap us, Jared.
So you want to be a teacher.
Yes.
There's 2 things you should do.
Okay.
1 is get a job.
Yes.
Waiting tables. So you have money.
No, however, waiting tables was one of the best jobs for preparing me.
We don't need to get into that.
No.
Well, no, I guess, what?
Yeah.
Real quickly. Sell me on that. 30 seconds.
It's what I currently do is very similar to waiting tables.
Because?
I have to remember a lot of people's needs at once and fulfill them, and then put them in an order of most important to least important, and then always smile and make people feel welcome. And I wipe a lot of tables.
All right. Well done. Get a job in a school, though.
Yes.
As an associate / para. What's a para?
A paraprofessional.
Paraprofessional. Or a janitor, or maybe you can sub in your state. Because for a lot of reasons. Largely so you can practice interacting with kids without having the crushing burden of responsibility for their ultimate outcomes or behavior.
Right. You're literally just clocking in and clocking out and doing the job as assigned.
You can see what good and bad teaching looks like. Really importantly, you can get the feel of what a school that's run well is like compared to a school that isn't.
Yep.
And that'll help you picking out places to apply for, jobs to accept.
You can learn how to become natural with kids, too. That's a big one.
I said practice.
Okay.
Practice interacting with kids in a natural way. It's like a dress rehearsal. And then bonus, you might get your foot in the door. If it's a good place and you like it, then you've probably got a leg up on applying there.
Yes.
And no one does this, but you could. And if you're worried that, like, the positions require you to work too much or don't have the right hours or something, just talk to them. You'll likely find that they're desperate for people to fill these positions and are willing to be really flexible with exactly how they're filled.
If they think you're good for the position or good for a student and you're currently going to school to be a teacher, I mean...
Yeah, it's got to be a really good start.
I mean, they might have a lot of people that do this type of work, and so they might have wiggle room you're not aware of by just changing the placement of who works when or with what kid when.
And then the other thing is to save yourself a bunch of stress between the hire date and the start date by creating your generic toolkit.
Yeah, I like that term, generic toolkit.
These are all things you're going to have to do anyway, because apparently the school won't do them for you. But create your behavior management plan, your About Me blurb for like the website and stuff, your like letter to parents about how you like to communicate and what the expectations for behavior and learning are. Plan out your classroom like tools, like how to take attendance and how hall passes or bathroom passes work. And envision how to set up your room like you're playing like a sim game, and what you want on the walls, where you want the teacher area to be. Because if you do all this and you read apparently a book called The First Days of School, you'll still be stressed out before your first day of school, but you'll be much less so because all of this stuff is in the bag and not adding to your problems.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Johanna.
Thank you, Jared.
Johanna, do you get questions from listeners ever?
Yes, we do.
How do those listeners send you questions?
They send us an email.
Where does that email go?
teachertalk4teachers@gmail.com.
But wait, what kind of 4? How do I do 4?
All of the 4s. They can do a number 4. They can write the word FOR, or they can do FOUR, even though that one doesn't quite make sense.
Well, perfect. teachertalk4teachers@gmail.com.
Yes.
Thank you, Johanna.
Thank you, Jared.
Teacher Talk, the podcast for teachers who are lifers but still want to have a life.